So most people, when they think about kidney problems, they picture something quite obvious, like pain in the back or the flank or blood in the urine or something really dramatic that sends them straight to A&E. And yes, obviously those things happen, but the reason kidney disease is so dangerous and the reason it's so common and so frequently missed is that for most of its course, it produces almost no symptoms at all, or it produces symptoms really subtle and so easy to dismiss that people just, well, literally dismiss them. They don't think about them. They ignore them for years and years. Now, your kidneys are two really, really important organs. They do a massive amount of work, literally 24/7, that, we never really think about. They just sort of work silently in the background. They regulate your blood pressure. They manage the fluid balance in your body. They produce hormones. They control the production of your red blood cells. They filter waste and toxins out of your blood constantly every single day. And the really important thing about all of this is that your kidneys are one of the strongest determinants of whether your later years are spent living independently and feeling well and staying out of hospital, or whether they are spent managing a cascade of conditions that feed off each other all the time. Which means when your kidneys start to struggle, the effects ripple out across almost every system in your body. And the early signs can be really subtle, like tiredness or just a bit breathless, or waking up in the night to pee, or swollen ankles at the very end of the day. Things that are very easy to dismiss or just put down to aging or stress or being a bit run down. So in this video, what I want to do is go through 9 signs that your kidneys may be in trouble, including some that most doctors don't really talk about in this sort of context. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to give you another 9 points to think about, 9 evidence-based habits, links not just to healthier kidneys, but to living longer and aging better as well. And I'll put the links to the research papers that I talk about in this video in the description below. Okay, so the first sign on this list is all about your blood pressure. This is high blood pressure that just won't improve. So this one isn't what most people would think of as a kidney symptom. And that is exactly why this one matters. So your kidneys and your blood pressure are locked in a relationship that goes both ways. Healthy kidneys help to regulate your blood pressure by controlling how much fluid stays in your body and producing hormones that manage how tight or relaxed your blood vessels are. When the kidneys start to struggle, your blood pressure starts creeping up. And here's the part that makes it really, really dangerous. High blood pressure then damages the kidneys even more. So the two things feed each other in a really vicious cycle that, if it goes unrecognized, will quietly cause a lot of harm over a long period of time. And the pattern I see clinically is this. So blood pressure numbers that have been gradually rising year on year, but nobody really does anything about it. So somebody who needed 1 medication a couple of years ago and now needs 2, or needed 2 medication and now needs 3, and the doses just keep going up and up and up as well. But actually, in a lot of people, it is the kidney function declining over time that is causing the blood pressure to go up. Both of them feed each other and go hand in hand. Now, in terms of your blood pressure, the number to aim for, according to the current evidence anyway, is below 120/80. Not 140/90, not 130/85. Really, unless you are really, really old and frail, the lower the better. There is loads of evidence pointing to the fact that lower is better. The SPRINT trial suggests that getting closer to 120 systolic rather than 130 or 140, which is what a lot of doctors actually are fine with, significantly reduces your risk of both cardiovascular disease and kidney function decline as well. If your blood pressure has been really difficult to control for years, or it just keeps creeping up over time, or you keep needing more medication, or it hasn't really responded the way that your doctor would have expected, then ask your doctor to look at your kidneys. Now, the second sign is one that I think most people will be surprised to hear sort of framed in this way, and it's all about your belly fat, specifically fat carried around the middle, around the waist, around your organs, what we call visceral fat. Now, we've got to be really careful here because this isn't about weight necessarily in the general sense. This is specifically about visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs. What we know about visceral fat is that it drives insulin resistance, which drives inflammation throughout your body, which drives high blood pressure, which then causes kidney function decline. And the pathway here is really, really well established in the research. And it means that somebody can be what we call a normal weight, like slim arms, slim legs, relatively normal BMI, but still be carrying enough visceral fat around their middle to be putting their kidneys under significant strain. The number I always come back to here is your waist circumference. Half your height in centimeters is roughly where you want to be. So if you're 5'10", around 178 centimeters, ideally your waist should be around 89 centimeters, so half your height. And look, this isn't a perfect science, it's quite a crude measurement, but it is much better for your metabolic risk than BMI or these other measurements that people can do. And if your waist has been slowly increasing in size over the last few years, even if the scales have stayed the same, then that is really worth paying attention to. Now, the third sign is one of the more classic ones. It's foamy urine, literally lots of bubbles in the toilet when you pass urine. And the reason this happens is really important. So your kidneys filter your blood through essentially millions and millions of microscopic sieves, like filters. And when those sieves are working properly, protein, and that's the important part, protein stays in the blood where it belongs. When those structures are damaged, protein starts leaking through into the urine. And protein in the urine creates foam, it creates bubbles. Not the kind of sort of brief bubbles that you might occasionally see if you pee really fast, but persistent, almost like fairy liquid dish soap style foam that sits there and doesn't disappear quickly. And this happens most of the time rather than just occasionally, it's persistent. And the reason this matters is that protein in the urine is often one of the earliest detectable signs of damage to your kidneys. And it's also one of the things that a simple urine test at your GP surgery can pick up. Now, it's not a diagnosis on its own. There are other causes of foamy urine, and not everybody with protein in their urine has kidney disease. But if it's persistent, if it's happening regularly, then it's really, really worth getting checked out rather than just ignoring it. Okay, the next sign is getting breathless more easily than you used to. And this is the one that most people seem to ignore. Let me just say, first of all, that being out of breath, there are lots and lots of different causes for this. If this is sudden, if it came on suddenly, if you have pain in the chest or in the back with it, or any pain anywhere, to be honest, or if you feel unwell, then stop watching this video and go straight to A&E. I'm not taking any chances here. Anyway, if this has been very gradual over a long period of time and you've not felt unwell, then it could be a problem with your kidneys. Okay, so feeling more short of breath than you used to, like say a couple of years ago, things like climbing the stairs feeling a bit harder, or your stamina sort of deteriorating over time, or needing to rest after things that wouldn't have stopped you before. Most people obviously put this down to just getting older, or being a bit more unfit, or having a really busy period where they haven't exercised much at all. And sometimes that is all it is. Sometimes it's nothing serious. But declining fitness and increasing breathlessness can also be a downstream effect of kidney dysfunction, and here's why. So when your kidneys aren't working properly, they produce less of a hormone called erythropoietin, which is sort of like the signal that your body uses to make new red blood cells. Fewer red blood cells means less oxygen being carried around your body, which means the heart and the lungs have to work harder to compensate. And that shows up as breathlessness and fatigue and reduced stamina as well. And on top of that, kidney problems are also closely linked to fluid retention as well, to cardiovascular strain, to poor metabolic health, all of which reduce your functional fitness. So declining physical capacity, particularly if it's progressed over months or years, and particularly if it's happening alongside any of the other signs in this video, it's worth raising with your doctor rather than just accepting this as inevitable or as part of getting older. The fifth sign is something that, again, a lot of people actually experience, but then just quietly normalize in their head. And this is waking up at night to pee. Now, waking up once occasionally is fine. It's probably not a sign of something serious, but waking up every single night, maybe twice or 3 times to go to the toilet, this could be a sign of a problem with your kidneys. So healthy kidneys in a healthy person are actually able to concentrate urine overnight. So you produce less, which is more concentrated, so that you can sleep through the night without needing to wake up. When the kidneys are struggling, that concentrating ability starts to decline. The urine stays more diluted and larger volumes are produced at night, so you start waking up. Now, there are other causes to this, obviously things like an enlarged prostate in men, or bladder issues, or drinking a lot of water late in the evening, which I used to do, or certain medications, and importantly, blood sugar problems as well, because high blood sugar causes increased urine production as well. So this sign on its own doesn't point straight to your kidneys. But if it's a new pattern, if it's been progressively worsening, if it's happening alongside other signs in this video, then it's really worth mentioning to your doctor and getting some basic tests done. So the next sign is all about fatigue and tiredness and just feeling really washed out. And tiredness is one of the most common things that people come to the hospital with or go to their GP with. It's so common, it's so easy to put down to other things that it often takes a really long time to be taken seriously. But persistent fatigue, the kind that doesn't really improve with a good night's sleep, that makes concentrating difficult, that leaves you feeling really drained by tasks that used to be really easy, could be a sign that something is wrong with your kidneys. And the mechanisms are really similar to what I described with breathlessness. So things like reduced red blood cell production, meaning less oxygen delivery to your tissues, waste products that the kidneys are no longer able to clear efficiently, which start accumulating in the body. Poor sleep quality as well, which kidney disease frequently causes. And often these things are all happening together at a really low level, which is why the fatigue feels really non-specific and hard to pin down. Brain fog, low motivation, feeling like you're operating at about 70%, those are things that tend to get explained away as stress or poor sleep or just aging in general. And again, often they are, but if they're persistent and unexplained, then a basic blood test looking at your kidney function is a really reasonable thing to ask for. Okay, so warning sign number 7 is a bit more of an interesting one. It's loss of appetite or a metallic taste in your mouth. This one obviously is a bit less well known, and for that reason, we need to include it on this list because it's so easy to miss. So when your kidneys aren't clearing waste products properly, things like urea, UREA, those waste products start to build up in your blood. And one of the effects of that is a change in how food actually tastes. So people describe it as a metallic taste, a strange background flavour that doesn't really go away. Your food just sort of tasting a bit funny. Alongside that is a reduction in your appetite. So food feeling less appealing or eating less without really trying to, sometimes losing weight unintentionally as well. Now, these sorts of symptoms tend to appear later on in the process when your kidney function has already gone down quite a bit, which is part of why kidney disease can progress so far before people seek help. By the time you're noticing your food tasting a bit funny, it really is worth going to the doctor and getting a blood test. Persistent, unexplained loss of appetite and an altered sense of taste together, particularly with weight loss, these are signs that really need to be taken seriously. Sign number 8 is swollen ankles. So puffy feet by the evening or the end of the day, or your socks leaving marks on your skin around your ankles, shoes feeling tighter later on in the day. These are some of the most common symptoms of kidney function decline. And again, most people just seem to dismiss them, especially in warmer weather, especially if they're on their feet a lot as well, especially if they're getting older. And again, there are lots and lots of causes of swelling around the ankles. Most of them are completely benign, but the kidneys do play a central role in managing how much fluid your body retains. And when that system is impaired or it's not functioning properly, fluid starts to accumulate in the tissues. And it tends to collect in the feet and ankles first, well, simply because of gravity. It pulls the fluid down towards your feet. Now, what distinguishes kidney-related swelling from simple sort of tired leg swelling is that it tends to be persistent. It tends to get gradually worse over time and tends to come alongside other signs like fatigue or changes in urination or rising blood pressure. If you press the swollen area, press it with your thumb, and the dent remains for more than a few seconds, what we call pitting edema, then this is really worth going to your GP about. But if it's painful and it's only on one ankle or one calf muscle, or it's red and hot, then that could be something else like a blood clot or cellulitis, a skin infection, so maybe go to the hospital instead. The final sign on this list is one that connects your kidney health to another condition that's quite underdiagnosed, and that one is sleep apnea, which is where the airway partially or fully collapses repeatedly during sleep, meaning that your breathing briefly stops, literally stops for a few seconds at a time. Your body then jolts itself awake to restart your breathing, and you never really get into a proper deep restorative sleep. Now, most people are actually never diagnosed here. Most people will never know this is happening. You'll just wake up with a headache and just feel tired all the time. The link between sleep apnea and kidney disease is another one that runs in both directions, a bit like your blood pressure. So sleep apnea causes repeated drops in oxygen levels overnight, which then stresses the cardiovascular system. It raises your blood pressure, and then over time, it damages the small blood vessels in your kidneys. And kidney disease, in turn, can then worsen your sleep apnea through fluid shifts and then also hormonal changes as well. The signs of sleep apnea are snoring that people have told you is pretty loud, waking up feeling unrefreshed despite what you think is a full night's sleep in bed, morning headaches again, falling asleep easily during the day, needing to urinate during the night, many of which cross over with the other signs on this list. Now, if it sounds familiar, particularly if you carry weight around the middle and around your neck, if you have raised blood pressure, then again, as with all of these, it's worth raising with your GP and potentially having a sleep study done at home. It really is one of the most treatable conditions on this list, but unfortunately, it's one of the most ignored as well. So there we go then, those are the 9 signs that your kidneys could be struggling. And as I said at the start, here's the other side of the story. And what I find really compelling about kidney protective habits is that they are not a separate list from the habits that protect your heart or your brain or your metabolic health. It is the same list. I hope you sort of get this idea now, if you watch a lot of these videos, that things that protect your kidneys or your brain or your liver, they protect everything. These things are all downstream of the same daily decision. So blood pressure is probably the most important dial to keep your eye on. The number to aim for here, again, is 120/80, not the threshold of 135 or 140. So buy a blood pressure monitor, go on Amazon, go to your pharmacy and use it regularly. Use it every single week. Know what your number actually is and then track it over time. Now, alongside your blood pressure, your blood sugar control matters enormously as well. Now, an HbA1c below 39 in the UK or 5.7% in the US is where you want to be. Again, really, the lower the better. And you want to try and catch any sort of upward trend over time before it becomes prediabetes or, well before type 2 diabetes. This is one of the best things that you can do to protect your kidneys in the long term. The next thing is visceral fat, so the fat around your middle. This is really worth tackling through things like resistance training or walking after meals and building meals around protein and veg and fiber rather than refined carbohydrates. Try and stay away from ultra-processed foods, but I get it's not as easy as that. I've got lots of other videos on that if you want to check those out. Daily walking matters as well, not just as exercise, but as a consistent signal to your metabolism across the entire day. These things compound over months and years. They're not going to do anything in the next day or two, But over decades, the research tells us that they will have a massive impact on your kidney function and your longevity. Sleep is the next one, and it's the one that people consistently underestimate in this sort of context. 7 to 8 hours consistently every single night, with enough quality there that you wake up feeling really rested. Now, if you snore really loudly or you wake up unrefreshed or with a headache, then again, it's really worth investigating rather than just sort of accepting it as normal. You could have sleep apnea, which is something that you really need to get treated. And alcohol as well. So being honest about your intake and about moderating it or even cutting out completely if you can. This has a massive effect on your blood pressure, your sleep quality, and your kidney function, much bigger than most people realize. Now, quitting smoking, if you currently smoke, remains one of the best things you can ever do for your health. I don't really need to convince you of that. But you know, it's amazing how many people continue to smoke despite all of the evidence out there. It's amazing how many doctors smoke as well, but that's a different story. And this applies as much to your kidney health as it does to your lung health, your brain health, your heart health. If you smoke, then please go to your doctor. There are so many things that we can offer you to help you quit. And the final thing to mention here is just to be really honest about how much ultra-processed food you're eating every single day. The evidence, and there is tons of it now, the evidence linking high ultra-processed food consumption to kidney decline and also metabolic disease and cardiovascular health is absolutely massive, and it is growing every single year. This is probably the biggest change that I reckon most of you could make. Now, none of these are complicated. None of them are expensive. None of them are a supplement. The difficulty, though, is actually doing them consistently over years and years and years. But that is also where the benefit comes from as well. And for your kidney specifically, that consistency is what determines whether your later decades are spent functioning well or managing the consequences of a system that was quietly struggling for a long time. Kidney disease is called the silent condition for a reason. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't cause any pain in its early stages. It progresses incredibly quietly behind the scenes while your life just continues normally until it can't be ignored anymore, until you develop these end-stage symptoms. And by that point, a significant amount of your kidney function has gone. So these signs that we've gone through today, these 9 signs, these aren't reasons to panic. They are reasons to pay attention. They are reasons to go and get a blood test and have a really honest conversation with your doctor about the symptoms that maybe you're having. The thing is, with your kidney function, the earlier that you act, the earlier you can do something about it. And your kidney function, in the vast majority of cases, can massively be improved. So I really hope you found this video useful today. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what you found useful, and what you'd like me to focus on in other videos. And while you're at it, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel.